President Biden is continuing his trip through the Middle East. You see there video of him departing Israel to go to Saudi Arabia. He is set to meet with Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman in hopes of lowering consumers' pain at the pump. For more on this, we welcome in Yahoo Finance senior columnist Rick Newman, who's also coming out with a new Bodynomics, which we're going to get to in a moment. But Rick, we've seen some press coming out over the past 24 hours sort of downplaying expectations that Biden will walk away from Saudi Arabia with specifics on oil production changes. What do you think about some of that that's been coming out?
Yeah, they're clearly trying to reduce expectations that there's going to be some prompt announcement or some prompt immediate evidence of an increase in oil production by Saudi Arabia. So what might happen is Biden gets a bit of a deal. They might keep it quiet. There's an OPEC meeting at the beginning of August. So, all these OPEC nations, sometimes they just start producing more oil and they don't tell anybody and it just shows up on the market. I mean, it would affect market prices that way. But what they try to do in the OPEC cartel is stick to their targets and at least operate off the same page. So if Biden's going to come back with a deliverable on this, the deliverable might be that OPEC itself, the larger cartel, says in early August, okay, we are going to increase production more than we have already said we're going to do. And if that happens, then I think you will see Biden taking credit for it. But it sounds like he's not going to be doing that at the end of this trip.
Rick, one of the benefits of this gig is I get to get a peek of your Bodynomics before it goes out. And wow, it's pretty feisty this morning.
Yeah, I'm going to go out on a limb and project that Biden's approval rating is at a bottom, that he's not going to get any worse than he is right now. So Biden's approval rating is now about 39%. That's very low. That's the lowest of any president at this point in his term since World War II, except for Harry Truman, who was a little bit lower. So for people who are wondering, yes, Biden's approval rating right now is lower than Donald Trump's approval rating at the same time. I think this is as low as it's going to go. And the reason is I think inflation is actually going to slowly improve from here on out, at least in the short term. I think nobody knows what will happen with inflation a year or two from now. And the Russia-Ukraine war is a huge wild card as it relates to oil prices. But there are a lot of reasons to think that the inflation now 9.1%. It's going to come down a little bit in future months. First of all, we know that the cost of energy has been falling for the last 3 or 4 weeks. That is showing up in gas prices. That was not reflected in the June number. It will be reflected in the July number when it comes out and probably in the August number. So we're going to have deflation in oil prices and gasoline. And also commodities are coming down in price. Supply chain kinks are unwinding. Some of the pandemic problems are very slowly but consistently improving. So I'm not saying Biden is going to rocket back up to 60% approval. I think it's quite possible he may never get above 50% at this point. I just think a bottom is in, and Biden will be doing a little bit better in coming months.
At the same time, he is suffering those low approval ratings. He's not having any traction with his own Congress, right? And in particular, Joe Manchin, once again, is the spoiler here, Senator of West Virginia, Democrat of West Virginia, who has been spoiling his own party's plans on various things. And now it's climate change legislation that Manchin is spoiling here. Is there going to be any progress for Biden in D.C. legislatively either?
Probably not. So what we're talking about here are the remnants of the so-called Build Back Better legislation from last year. And it looked as if it was possible that Democrats might be able to pass some slim version of Build Back Better, which would be some incentives for green energy, possibly some tax hikes. And as you point out, Joe Manchin, as he did last December, he said, nah, I'm not behind this at all. I would like to suggest an alternative narrative, however, on the, Joe Manchin is evil mantra among Democrats. The only reason Joe Manchin has a veto over Biden's legislative agenda is that the Democrats only have a 1-seat majority in the Senate. If the Democrats had, let's say, 2 additional seats, Manchin wouldn't matter. Manchin could vote against everything and Democrats could still pass it. So my message to Democrats is, could you just stop whining about Joe Manchin? Here's how you solve the Joe Manchin problem. You pick up two Senate seats in the midterm elections, and you keep control of the House. And then you have just solved your Manchin problem right there. That is probably not going to happen. Democratic Party is not popular. The only party that's worse than the Republican Party is the Democratic Party. Sometimes because they cannot get out of their own way. They can't even agree among themselves. So sure, we can go back to Joe Manchin killed green energy legislation once again, but there's a lot more to it.
Rick Newman, not a buyer, it sounds like, of shares of BDEN. Rick Newman, have a great weekend. Safe travels.
Bye, guys.